Cheers, this is White Russian. My name is Maria L. I'm very excited about my new guest. He's a prominent human rights activist from Ethiopia and the founder and the executive director of the Solidarity Movement for a New Ethiopia. Obang Metho, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Obang, you were born in Gambella, a remote region in western part of Ethiopia. How was it growing up there?
Thank you. Yeah. So yes, growing up is totally different than being living in the West and being grown up. It was I was born and grown up in a village where totally there's no diversity in a way. One ethnic groups. The culture is very remote. Many people are not don't have access to education. So, but I think that remembering that the best part of my life was my childhood, being child, and by then people really nurture the children, people take care of the children. So this idea, this day now, it was part of the children's, the children are living in a very hardship condition. When I was a kid, we were living in a different kind of lifestyle. So growing up in there, then my childhood, I remember it being the best part of my life. Then now it's totally a different lifestyle.
So when you said it was the best part, what was the most amazing part about
the most amazing part is the community, like people being together, people sharing together. I remember that we being kids, that really food is not an issue. So you go and eat with the next door neighbors. So people, everything has been done by sharing, and show caring and sharing is part of the society. Where the individualistic is not really was not there. The individual society or what we have now, it's about me was not never been there. So the children's are usually being given priority. So even when the community eat in the villages, the children eat first, men eat second, women eat third.
Oh no! What about old people? They don't get any food.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, the whole people they kind of in between kind of things. That so I find it that there is a need. The people look at the children as the future. The children are being very nurtured in a way that also that this idea where every child does something not really good, you don't have to wait for a family or mom and dad or relative to punish. Anyone else in the village will punish you. And so it is that kind of thing that where in the Western and the world we live in today, someone will say that how the heck you touch my kid? But in there, the family don't even ask why, they know that the kid has done something. So those are the kind of cultures that, growing up, I really liked. And it's very unique in a way that the people live together, people share things together. Like these kind of injustice was something that was really never been introduced to, especially injustice in regarding to the government or injustice in regarding to oppression. Maybe at the age of 10, 9, that when I really experienced that. But before that, I did not. And also living in an environment where there's no media of any like the way we have now. So that to me is a totally a different way of living, in a way that looking back now, it's something that I can treasure more.
I see. So you moved to Canada at the age of 17, and if I'm not mistaken, you came on your own and you went straight to Saskatchewan, which I bet at the time didn't see that many immigrants. What was the hardest part about being a young Black man foreign to this province?
The cold, the weather, yeah. The weather in Saskatchewan, the cold weather is I think the one thing that definitely that coming, you know, experience that there's no. So also you say that Saskatchewan is the west part of Canada. To those people who don't know, by then when I went there was not really many black people, or even very few black people. Coming from Africa, experience totally a different environment, different culture, different language, and then different weather. Of course, being very cold. I think that those are some of the things that, and then also they're trying to fit in. Especially, I try to talk to some of the people that who really don't, the younger people at the age of teenagers, usually people is the time of rebelling. You are independent, you only about yourself, you don't care about others. So one thing I find was that trying to fit in, you go to school, you're this dark guy, the kid don't even know where he come from, and this and the kid also that afraid of coming close to you. I think those are some of the most difficult things, but I try to reach out because I was saying that, for how long I'm going to be by myself, during the lockers and in a classroom. So, I will go to any kid that will seem to be very friendly, very approachable, and then I introduce myself to him or her, and then sometimes they go back to their children, to their friends. But being at that young age of the teenagers, yeah, it was the most difficult thing. But at the end, I did manage to cope with it, and becoming something that was looking back now. Uh, I think that being strong, I have to, I would, what I would put it that having confidence, saying that I have to find a way. I have to find a way to fit in. I have to find a way to be who I am and, meet with a friend. Eventually, sooner or later, I will find someone that will be a friend. So that's what I work on at the end of the day. Definitely, I had the chance to meet so many of my friends and then becoming, like not only this black guy anymore, I become the Saskatchewan guy, the Saskatchewanian guy.
That's great. You became a human rights activist after the 2003 Anuak massacre. For those who don't know about this massacre, can you please provide a bit of information?
Yes, yeah, definite that, I never intended that I will get involved in the human right. I know that somehow I will go back to Africa where I come from, where I will contribute in making a life better. So as I was saying earlier, that the Gambela region in southwest of Ethiopia, it's one of those places which is very marginalized. There's no development in that place. But in terms of the natural resource, it is one of the most fertile land in Ethiopia. Even there's a study done by foreigners where they were saying that if it is done properly, Gambella can be the breadbasket of Ethiopia, where they can feed the whole entire, not only Ethiopia, even the Horn of Africa and East Africa for that matter. There's lots of water, there's lots of fertile land, there's natural resource like, the gold and things like that. But it's really, the development was never being put there for the local people. So having said that most of the people children don't have access to education and clean waters and health cares and roads and agriculture. So I thought that when I was a kid that if I finish the school, somehow I will go and contribute back. But in December 13, 2003, before that, there were pretty much, between the federal government of Ethiopia at the time and the local people, there was so much disagreement. The government really wanted to control and put their puppets to rule the regions while the local people opposed it, and the relation deteriorated. In December 2003, there were a car which was ambushed, and some of the people who were close to the government were massacred, were killed in that car. And then by then, the National Defense Force really kind of blamed the whole entire ethnic groups. They went back to the town, and in the way of punishing that ethnic group called Anuak, A-N-U-A-K, the group that where my family came from. So the government went in killing almost 424 people. By then living in Saskatchewan, that gave me the responsibility for people to call me and say they're get engaged, do something, be involved. And I say, okay, I will be able to get involved. So I did get involved in the human rights, believing that these group of people who have been marginalized, discriminated, if the regime can go and eliminate them, so someone has to speak up for them. And so that really got me engaged into human rights. But it was never been intentionally saying that someday I'm going to get involved in human rights. But I went there just as people calling for responsibility to make a difference.
And if I'm not mistaken, you testified in the United Nations, right?
Yes. So yeah, because of that, looking for a reason, finding a solution was very difficult. As I say that, these are a group of people who are marginalized and discriminated. The government didn't care about them. So someone have to step up. And what we did was to find a solution. We have to go to the United Nations in Geneva and then testify to the UN. And then also that getting involved with the US policymakers to see that if they can get involved. So sometimes human rights people think that there is an institution, a system in place that when atrocity take place, people will come and do something. But that's really not the case. In most of the places, the UN barely respond. Sometimes they come about documenting the information, but after you document it, you really don't get the justice you deserve. So we did manage to go to the UN, to the, as I said, to the American policymaker, those who care. But hopefully, the idea was, even if justice cannot be done, at least the world will know. So that is how we get involved into it. But it's never to be the easy thing; it was a very difficult work to do.
For sure, for sure. One of the goals of an organization you established shortly after this unfortunate event was, and I quote, to advocate for the safety, security, democracy, and autonomy of the Anuak people in Gambella, Ethiopia, at the local, regional, national, and international level. Today, however, you're standing against ethnic federalism. Why the change?
Yeah, that's a very good point because, as I said, that at the beginning, the people who were targeted were Anuak, the group that where my family came from, and then later on, those people have no voice. I try to speak up for them, and really trying to seek the justice for this group of people intentionally, because really I realized that no one was there for them, or the federal government really tried to suppress the information. The human rights group trying to get involved by medicine, human rights watch especially. Also that there are some Ethiopian human rights groups who get involved. But by then we realized that these are a very tiny ethnic group, no more than 100,000 worldwide. And then very few of them are educated. If the government can eliminate the educated people, then the future of these people are in danger. And these are a group also that in 1984, the Culture Survival Group, an organization deal with the culture right, wrote a report and saying that these particular group called Anuak, they are endangered people groups, like the way usually people put that endangered species in a way, because the idea then, there's a refugee coming from the South Sudan, there is, during the drought, people who came from the highland part of Ethiopia, they were really, so at that time, the government or the organization considered these people as endangered group. So we found that to speak up for these people, someone has to be. So we organized, setting up an organization called Anuak Justice Council, which is to protect the right of the Anuak who were in a serious problem. After the massacre, majority of them left Ethiopia, went to Sudan, went to Kenya, went to Uganda. So the government really leased their land and gave their land to, whoever crony that belonged to the government. So the local people, especially, that particular group, feel they were not only marginalized, their survival as a group, it's in danger. So it's pretty much that is something that you find in most of the world, where you see the indigenous people, or other people want their resource, but they don't want the people. That was something that has happened in there. The TPLF who were ruling the place want the resource, but did not want the people. So after the atrocity, the Gambela land was given to all the crony, giving one the land. So, but later on, one thing I discovered was that this is not only an issue that affecting the Anuak, an issue that affecting the rest of Ethiopia. So I realized that the problem was not, is just systematic. Until you root out the root cause of the problem, the solution will never be found. And so I find that justice will not come to the Anuak unless the justice come to whole Ethiopia as whole. And so it was from there that I lived from ethnic base to pretty much that national, because I realized that the biggest problem of Ethiopia is failure to value, to see the humanity of others. Because, someone will look, those who are kind of, much more the have higher status, they look down at the others. And those who, have the power, they look down at the others. So there's no system that put everybody equal, value everybody as one. So what I learned was that what was happening to the Anuak is happening to every part of the group in the countries. And so I find that also the government had these terrible systems, which is really a backwards, anti-humanity, anti-harmony, anti-peace, anti-development, inclusiveness. In Ethiopia have a system, what they call ethnic federalism. So that meaning that everything is based on ethnicity. So when I find it, there's an irony I live in Saskatchewan. I want to live in Saskatchewan, and I was accepted not because of my skin color, not because of my language or my religion. I was accepted because I was a human being. Being a human is enough. And so when I was living in Saskatchewan, my neighbors come from all over part of the world. So that kind of thing doesn't exist in Ethiopia. And I find that in Ethiopia will never, thrive, or they will never have a much more prosperous society as long as they have this system. So that's why I really realize that the solution is not to be an ethnic base sectarian change, but it has to be a much more wider. And so that's why I decided, okay, from now on, then I have to reach out to the rest of the Ethiopian and created an institution. So that's why we created solidarity movement for New Ethiopia. And it was the idea is a solidarity movement of the peoples and not a political group. And then for New Ethiopia, meaning that not a new country, not a new map, not a new flag, but a new thinking where we value the humanity of others, regardless of who they are. By being a human is enough. Being a human being, as we owe a debt to do the right things, not only to our family, to our ethnic groups, to our citizens, but to our fellow human being, even to the living being as well. So that's why we set up this organization. And so from that on, then we reach out. So in other words, I realized that Anuak will never have justice until the whole Ethiopian have justice. And then I realized that the Ethiopian also that has a way have to put the humanity before ethnicity or before any other difference, because we didn't come to this world, with the language and religions. All of these things are inherited, but we come in as all one. We are a human being and a humankind. There's one race, only the human race. And so that was something that we've been promoting and for almost the last few years. It's been going on in Ethiopia, but ethnic system is still infecting the Ethiopian. Is actually a threat to the survival of Ethiopia, because in Ethiopia the regional state is named after the ethnicity, like instead of Saskatchewan, Alberta, Ontario, Oromo, Amara, Tigray, even plate number, sport club, everything is there. People are so obsessed with ethnicity, and it's as a reason now. Some people say that if you are not from that ethnic group, you have to belong to somewhere else. So it's a very dangerous problem. And so we've been working and trying to resolve that problem. So that's why I realized that by only being with Anuak will not get us anywhere, but to reach out to the rest of the Ethiopian.
I see. It makes sense for sure. You couldn't come back to Ethiopia for quite some time due to political reasons. And I think it was until recently, right? When you finally were able to come back. What was it like? Yeah. What was it like to go back after so many years?
It was very difficult. As you say that when we were working under this, human right is one of the things that should first to be the easiest job that anyone will accept with you. But anywhere, people don't like the human right, because human right is very much telling the truth in a human being, not doing a horrible thing to each other. So when we were doing that, I never promote any violence. I never promote any hatred or anything. But the government at that time, they fear the truth, and because they see the truth, one thing they realized was that, okay, we need to minimize those people who are speaking abroad. Among the people abroad who were denied from coming to the countries, I was one of them, because they were afraid that the idea I was promoting, violating the humanity of one another, working together, living together, will be a threat to them. So I was among the people that were denied from not coming back to the country. So for almost I would say maybe 16 years. So then the change came in 2018 in Ethiopia, and I went back to Ethiopia. Yeah, you're right. The first thing that what was like going back. So one of the things I did see going back after 16 years, the population I saw so many, there's so many people on the street, and the younger people, most of the African, they say it is a young continent, even in Ethiopia. It's almost 110 million, 116 million people, they say. Among that, 70% of them under the age of 30. So most of them are young people. The second thing, which is also I seen, was that, really the lack of development. When I was outside, people say that the economy is booming, things are very good, the country is moving forward. But I find that it was just a facade. It's not truth. And going to the Gambella region, in particular, where I went from, this when I was young in a way, or when I left the country. So what struck me the most was that what the government told the world that the economy is booming, double-digit economy, Ethiopia it is, and what I saw there was so totally different. So it was not the same.
I see. Over the years, you have seen a lot of suffering of Anuak and other Ethiopian people. What gives you strength to do what you do every single day?
Yeah, no, the strength come from to that the lifetime we live in this world is a very short period of time. We don't know how long would that be. And also that one thing I think my strength is looking back, whether a family, whether a community, whether the government or a society, we are the product of the people who came before us. People before us, if they have done a better job, Ethiopia would not be where they are today. So, seeing that, the reason why Saskatchewan or Canada have a good healthcare system, people who are before have thought of trying to do what's best so that the Canadian will have access to clean water, the Canadian will have good healthcare, the Canadian will have food, Canadian will, children will get the best education. So all of those things that for me, I see that in Africa, that work was never being done. The government back then didn't really do that. And I find that for me, I have a responsibility now to do whatever I can, what I did not have when I was a kid. The kid who come for me will not follow the same. Those who have, didn't have the opportunity, before me, then will have an opportunity later on. So my strength was that, I have responsibility. I have responsibility to do whatever I can to contribute to the betterment of the people who will come after me. I find that I, by being born from that community, by being born from that country, by being born in this world, I had a responsibility not only for me and my family, those who are close to me or ethnic group, I have a responsibility for the humankind and making this world a better place than when I was born. So my strength come from that. So sometimes doing this kind of work is horrible and it is awful. There's many things that testimony when you hear them, it just break your heart. And there's some people who will come and tell you, I traveled all over the place where I've seen some of the young Ethiopian women who were being raped and running to looking for opportunity. I went to some places. Some of the testimony I heard and I've seen is something you wish that you didn't hear. But for me, instead of being crushed by that, I try to use that as my strength to say that for how long? How long would Ethiopian have to go abroad to find opportunity? How long would African young men and women drown in the Red Sea, become, fish food, or, becoming, in the Sahara Desert and becoming, how long would these people suffer? So I see that the solution, I am one of the solution. So that where I gain my strength, that where I keep that in a, sometimes the work of these kind of things, you don't see the result right away. The result may come. And so this is the idea for how long is not only me in this world we live in. At one point, when the India were, colonized, Mohammed Gandhi stood up and say, for how long Indian deserve a better, and they stood up in African American for almost 200 years, or 100 years when they were enslaved. Like Dr. King and Malcolm X and other groups come out and say for how long we cannot tolerate it. So, and I realized that the human being by nature, we are not that great. And we are one of the most living species that we kill each other, not for anything. Other animal kill other animal for food, but sometimes we do it in wasting. So I realized that I have to play a role in helping educating people so that they can value others, so they can realize that they have responsibility, so they can know that we live in this world for a short period of time, and that time we don't know when it will end. Before the day ended, then let's do whatever we can to make other people, or give the opportunity to others. So I seen those are my strengths. Sometimes, as there's some weakness as well. Some people say that how come that people like you? It is not easy to do this kind of thing. And so, like I have some of my friends that I went to school in Saskatchewan, settling down, having, family, leaving the Saskatchewan dream and Canadian dream. But sometimes my conscience will not allow me to do that because I can go and live in Saskatchewan and have everything I want for myself. But if where I come from, the people that do, my own country or my own community don't have access to clean water, education, the things that I take, really my life is unlived for. So then I see that my life is not only about me, it's also that about those people that who are surrounding me and also that those who will come after me. So as I was saying earlier, that we are the product of the people who came before us. Our family and dad and mom raised us so we can be who we are. Without them, we will not be where we are. The same to the society. I am the product of those who came before me and those who come after me. It is my responsibility. If I do the right thing, they will have a better life than, and if I don't do it, the cycle will continue.
You received death threats for your activism before. Would you like to say anything to those who want to see you dead?
Yeah, so definitely, that one of the thing that doing this kind of job, as I said, is not easy. And as I say, that human being by nature, we are selfish being. We are selfish only think about our own self. Most of the time, the thing that we fight about in this world, is something that when we die, we don't take anything with us. We come to this world with nothing and we go with nothing. And there are some people that who don't see that. Yeah, definitely, as I say, that I never really promote or encourage and seeing that I don't think that killing someone is a punishment. A punishment should be someone feeling the pain. But when you kill them, they don't remember anymore. So I find it that I am one of the individuals who believe that promoting peace is the best thing, living together is the best thing. But there are people who oppose to it. Those who oppose to it, then some of them went on to the point and saying that, yeah, we'll definitely kill you or we'll do this. But for me, I really did never, I hear about it. And for me, I would say that, look, I will do whatever I can. And if they do that and they succeed, maybe if they do it, I already done something and make it different to the people. Yeah, so they know this kind of thing. You can hear the people will insult you, saying the worst thing, they dehumanize you. They will go to the point of saying that we will kill you, we'll do this to you and this. But to me, that never really terrifies me or never terrorized me. To me, I'm thinking that, I know deep in my heart I didn't do anything wrong. But these people really want to continue to do their wrong deed, but someone has to speak up for it. So for me, that never deterred me to stop doing what I'm doing. And I see that yes, there may be, because there are people in the world that who have done a great deed and they never made it. And also there are people who do these kind of things. Sometimes people think that they're selfish, people would want you to believe like them and do that. But for me, I see that, I have a purpose. God created me for purpose. I have a calling, and my calling is here. And if my calling is doing the right thing, and if someone will try to take my life for what I do right, then let it be it. Because at the end of the day, we are all going to go anyway. It is what we have done before we leave from this world. Then, after we are dead, we all dead. There's no anything. So yes, I hear so many insults to the point of the worst thing that will do this to you with that. But to me, that I never really focus on that. I focus on what I want to do and try to make a difference and making people think that they are much more better than who they are. They are much more. They have responsibility. So usually, what I'm trying to tell the Ethiopian much more is the idea of the humanity. Being a human being, it is a responsibility. A human being is a conscious. Being a human being is, you owe a debt to something. So, and that is what I try to do. Some people don't get that. I try to talk to some Ethiopian when I say that we have this idea where we say humanity first, and some of the Ethiopians say that, well, I'm human. They say, oh, you did not know that you are a human. And the thing is, they don't know, because a human, someone dehumanize others. Being a human being and know how to be a human being is a totally two different things. And so my role and my job is trying to tell some of these Ethiopians who don't know what it means to be a human being, or a civilized person. A civilized individual is not only hurting another human being. A civilized person is the one that who will lift, the hurting animal, someone that will make, the environment better, someone who will think about the future. A civilized person is not someone who only focus on their ethnicity or only on their family. So I find that lack of education is the biggest problem. When I went to Africa after I left from Canada, the politicians use the education as a tool to keep their citizens ignorant, to keep their citizens wrong, immoral, uneducated. And so as a result, that we produce these young people who don't, think critically, who don't analyze things, who don't really see they have responsibility, who don't value the humanity. So I find that education is a key. Education is a light to move them from the darkness. Education is something that can empower them. So to me, I see that instead of focusing on this idea where someone will say, "Oh, we'll kill them, get over with it." I think that no, I don't focus on it. I focus on this short life I have in this world to do what I can and carry on and pass it on to the next generation.
I see. Are you planning to run for political office in the future?
Now, people ask me that all the time. I don't right now, once that I really don't. I think that, I can make a difference without not being a political. Yes, political position is a key. Sometimes when you think about it, I always see that being in a position of office or being in a position of power, sometimes is good, sometimes it's bad. It depends how you use it. It's like a driver. The driver is the one that who's in charge. And the next person sitting to the driver can say the speed up and the driver will slow down. They can say that, slow down, the driver will speed up. Yes, people trying to ask me, are you going to run for the office in the future? For me, I really don't see right now, but definitely if that need be, if being involved in politics will improve the life of the people, so of course, why not? Because from what I see this, I become, what do you call it? I hate politics, not because politics is a bad thing. I hate politics because it's been the wrong people who lead them, the leaders, the politicians. The politics is, God created us as a human being and disturbing, living creatures that crazy that we need to uh, we need to have a law to protect ourselves from ourselves. We need to be organized. We are social being. We have to have a structure in place. But sometimes politicians fail that. A position for the public or for the society, they use it for themselves. And that's why I come to the point of I hate the politician, not the politics. Politics is there. You need politics to organize, to live together, to have clean water, to have law, to respect one another. You need politics. That is something you cannot take away. But the problem when you have a politician that lie to the people, mislead the people, deceive the people, those kind of, just make me really becoming allergic to politics. And so to me, sometimes I think that, in the case of place like in Ethiopia, uh, we can make Ethiopia to become like Canada or America or Scandinavian country if we want it. But all it takes is you have to have a leaders that who really humble themselves, who see themselves as a, what do you call it? Not really who don't see them, who see themselves as a servants, not a leaders. Like these pillars as servants. If you look at it in this world, that the most people, human beings that who really have more power, whether Jesus Christ or Muhammad, so all of those Islam and the Christian and others, those are people who were servants. They were not leaders. They were serving people. And if there is somehow there's environment in Ethiopia where there are a group of people who can come together and create an environment that not only for themselves, to put this misery together, to make Ethiopia a place that livable for people, to make Ethiopia a better country, not a bigger country. If there's a team of people who will work like that, and people ask me to get involved in politics, I think there's no. I think that I would say that definite that so we'll have to wait and see. But for us now, focusing in education, empowering the young people. For me now, my focus is the young people, of farmers will have a good yield. A farmer will have a good crops when they have a good seeding that the seed that they have. So the Ethiopian young people of today, because they were the result of what was done yesterday. What were planted in Ethiopia 30 years ago is tribalism, you know, corruption, misleading, lie, deception, dishonest, abuse, disregard to the human values. All of these things now we are harvesting that. So what we have to plant tomorrow, if we want to harvest kindness, unity, harmony, peace, development, equality, justice, then what we plant today have to be a different crops than that of the past. And that meaning that what we are planting is in the mind, in the souls of these young people, to tell them, every young Ethiopian, that whether you are darker skin, you are lighter skin, you are tall, you are short, you are a woman, you are a man, you are a precious human being, that you have a purpose into this world. So whenever you see another Ethiopian next to you, even the disabled, know that you are seeing yourself in that God created us in this land for purpose, and then you are your brother and sister protectors. So to teach those young Ethiopians, to let them know that any Ethiopian who are born in that land is precious, and we have to value them as we value our own children. And so I see that my role now to educate these young people, empower the young people, letting them know that you have a greater responsibility. Ethiopia cannot be a beggar forever. Ethiopians don't have to go abroad. And Anuak don't have to go to Saskatchewan to get a better education. They can get education wherever they are. And so in order for the kid to get that, someone has to teach them and empower them and letting them know that. And I see that I'm one of those people. I cannot just keep pointing a finger at somebody else. The group did this, so did this. I am part of the problem. I'm also that part of the solution.
Ethiopia has been on the news for quite some time due to the Tigray conflict. What is your opinion about it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean earlier, that, what we are harvesting now was what was tilled, what was planted, when the TPLF, the Tigrayan Liberation Fronts, about 45 years ago, they say that there were injustice, inflicted on them. They tried they created an organization. They went to the bush, called it the Tigray Liberation Front, to liberate their region or to liberate their own peoples. And they fought for 17 years. Finally, they succeeded it. And the communist government of Mengistu Mariam left the country. They came and lead Ethiopia for the last, and then they introduced this poison of ethnic federalism or tribalism in a way. And that where, really for them to divide the country, rule the country, being a very tiny minority ethnic group, they have to use divide and conquer. They introduced this poison of ethnicity politics, and they divided the country so that you divide and conquer, that what the European used, that what the British used to control Africa. So in this case, then they did this in particular and trying to rule Ethiopia. And they succeeded it, and having two double government in a way, two system, you have the APRDF and then you have the TPLF, which is really running the country. So they continue to do that for almost 27 years. And so then after the 27 years, the change come and they left, the power, but they never really wanted to leave the power. They want to continue the domination. And then when the new prime minister who was in power now got involved in it, and I think they did not see themselves, the TPLF didn't see themselves, letting power go. So they continue to hold on the power. The tension went on for 2 years. The government has a patient in trying to resolve the problem. The TPLF never wanted to do it. Eventually, it get to the point where things are deteriorated. To make the things shorter, the government, the federal government postponed an election, and then the TPLF won an election. So almost, a system which is wrong, like having the rest of Canada have an election, or Saskatchewan have an election, or Ontario have an election, the rest of the Canada don't have an election, something which is really unthinkable anywhere in the world. So they did that. And then pretty much that, the government kind of put, more restrict on them, eventually, even cutting down the budget for them. And then the worst thing which they did was in last November, the Ethiopian, defense force on the North Division, which is close to the Tigray region, to protect the country, protect them specifically. They, went and attacked that, at night, and killing the soldiers of the country, the people who they used to live together with intention what to create a problem. So that really led to this problem that we have in the government have no any other choice because, the people instigated it, and, they went to fight, and then some of the leaders were captured, some of them are still in there. So what happened there, as someone who cared about the human right, it did not have to go this way. There's a talk or dialogue should have taken place, reconciliation should have taken place, the problem should be solved. But again, these attitude thinking of my way or no way, this idea of my tribe or no tribe, this idea of my tribe first, not your tribe second, these primitive backwards thinking is the result now that, Africans say two elephant fight, it is the grass that pay the price. Now the grass is, the local people of Tigray region. As we speak, Human Rights Watch come at the report, and there all of this. And if you look at it, even there's a talk now where people say that the Eritrean, there's a rumor, there's a talk that the Eritrean soldier come inside them. But also another thing, which is the TPLF soldiers who are in the bush, who are fighting with the government now, they still have the support from the popular Tigrayan. So usually you tend these where I will be more loyal to my tribe than others. So some of this group actually now they would say that the Eritrean troops, even if the TPLF did that, because if they say the TPLF troop, that meaning that they are acknowledging their own tribe. So they're saying that the Eritrean did this, but what do you make out of this? This thing could have been avoided. But the TPLF wanting to rule forever, wanting to control, and then to the point of wanting to attack the national, defense base. So these things just come and crumbling. So in terms of that, some of the Western country don't really know what it is now. Some of the Western government, the Western media, trying to say that the Ethiopian government is, blame the Ethiopian, but the TPLF started fight. What the TPLF was done is so wrong, and then also that for the last 28 years, the TPLF 27 years, the TPLF run the country. They have committed some of the most atrocities, some of the worst atrocity ever. Where were those, Western government, Western media? Where were they? Why they did not speak up? So in other words, the problem of Ethiopia is can be solved by the Ethiopian. You don't need the, external force trying to come in, and involve in a way. So yes, we live in a global society, but I think somehow that, the hypocrisy, a double standard doesn't work. As someone who care about the human right, who care about the well-being of Ethiopia, the Ethiopian government and the Ethiopian people need to find a way to resolve their problem in a way that really conducive, in a way that, a win-win to everybody else. So the problem of Eritrea or the Tigray regions is there, and so far, seem to be I don't see any way out so far from what's looking like from both sides, and the government that, and the local people who live there, they're trying to find their way that, to bring the life back to normal. But at the end of the day, somehow the Ethiopian have to find a remarkable way of finding a solution to this crisis.
I see. Thank you for your opinion, Obang. My last question to you is, what is the future for Ethiopia?
That's a very good question. My hoping is the future for Ethiopia is a more livable Ethiopia for everybody, a more peaceful Ethiopia, a more just Ethiopia, a more harmonious society Ethiopia, a more country where people can live together, regardless of ethnicity. And that is, it's a wishing, but it's not easy. I am very concerned about the future of Ethiopia because of this particular poison of the tribal things. Right now, we see that the country, there's ethnic violence going on in other places. Because of this system, the future of Ethiopia look very grim for me. It's a grim in a way that if the Ethiopian who care about Ethiopia can put their different asides and come up with a vision that really will make Ethiopia shine, I think that the future will look better. But again, Ethiopia cannot be a free and fair and democratic, peaceful Ethiopia based on pretending Ethiopia. One of the things I really hate is we have these Ethiopian politicians who see the problem and they're trying to pretend. The pretending is the worst crime that you could ever do. It's a curse. There's Ethiopian who are pretending to gain the support of Ethiopian. They will pretend like they love Ethiopia. They will pretend like Ethiopian are united. They will pretend that things are normal. They will pretend that things are okay when things are not okay. And that is the worst thing that. So the future for Ethiopia, what is the future of Ethiopia or the future for Ethiopia? All of us would like to have a country where there's opportunity to everybody, where the peace will come, and then also that where the Ethiopian will have children will have a better education, where they will be able to compete with the Western, with Chinese, with other, rather than these caging Ethiopia. Like this idea of putting Ethiopia in a cage will never get Ethiopia from the shackle of this oppression. So the future of Ethiopia is almost like the future of every other country in this world. Everyone would wishing for something better to their own country. And I hope also that most of the Ethiopians are wishing for that. But as of now, unless Ethiopian change this constitution, that in ethnic-based political system to a much more citizenship, the future will not look very bright because, you know, if running a country based on ethnicity, what the right thing Ethiopia would not be the only one. Everywhere you go in the world, they say, we the people of Canada, we the people of America, we the people of Sweden or British. Ethiopia, the only one say, we the nation, nationality, people group. Three identity. We the nation, nationality, people group. Even within Ethiopia, they call it a special warada or a special zone, special district. When you have a different ethnic group, they call them special. This is the most primitive, backward thing that you cannot have the special within the country. You know, it's not like animal that, you know, you cannot put this animal together and that animal together. So in Ethiopia, you have what they call the special district, the special zone, the special whatever. There's not supposed to be any special things like that. So the Ethiopian has to work for finding a solution for a meaningful reform, institutional reform, constitutional reform. I always say that a country is like a car without no good engine, a car without no good tire, a car without no good windshield will not function. Ethiopia as a country is like a vehicle. A vehicle, a car, if you change a driver and you don't change the spare part of the car, it doesn't matter who's driving it, if Jesus is driving or Mohammed Gandhi or Mandela will end up in a ditch. So what Ethiopia needs is not only the driver. They need to change the spare part of these cars. So they have the spare part of the institutional reform. The institutional reform having an independent intelligence, independent defense force, independent media, independent judiciary, independent education, independent group that really kept the country function. Unless Ethiopians see that, the problem will not, you know, the problem Ethiopia future will look grim. And I always remind Ethiopians, don't forget, a country is like a human body. You know, if someone think that my tiny finger is not useless and I cannot use it and I will cut it off, they will feel the pain. So all the ethnic groups are like every part of Ethiopia. One group, one ethnic group may be the eye and the nose and the tongue and the heart and the brain, the leg and the nails, all are needed. Unless Ethiopians realize that every one of us are needed to keep this body functioning well, then the future of Ethiopia will look grim. But it is in the hand of the Ethiopians that will really care about the future of their country. Because I always say that no one will ever be free until we are all free. And the only way Ethiopian can thrive is putting the humanity before anything else, before religion, skin color, language, sex, and anything else. Until Ethiopians find that and really work on it, based on genuine, not fake, not pretending, then we can be able to have a better Ethiopia. But again, we're having people like you who, you know, concern, care, and having this kind of discussion is a useful thing because someone will learn from this. They may not agree everything I said or, you know, whatever we just talk about, but they may take something out of that. And that one thing that they take will make them feel that, yeah, you know what, I can do a better thing. So this kind of discussion, this kind of dialogue is much needed in Ethiopia, and also that for outside Ethiopia, it's also that for everybody else. At the end of the day, I say that we are a human race. Ethiopian, whether we like it or not, part of our race. And we need them to have peace, we need them to have harmony. We need them to respect one another. We want them to give the best of the best to their society. So it is the work of all of us, not only me or Ethiopia.
Thank you so much, Obang, for your time again. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Cheers. This is White Russian. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on like. There'll be many more interesting interviews coming up very soon, so stay tuned.